My name is Diane. Standing outside the warm, well-lit house, the cold air stings my face like a wake-up call. I take a deep breath that I didn't know I'd been holding all evening. Behind me, the house full of expectations and pressure seems to shrink with every step I take away. I'm in control now, not because I have all the answers, but because I've finally chosen myself. Let me rewind to that fateful Easter dinner. I was sitting at the table, surrounded by my family. My older sister, Lily, 35 years old, couldn't carry her own baby. And out of the blue, my family dropped a bombshell on me. My mom, a strong-willed and opinionated woman in her 60s, leaned forward first. Her voice was calm but had an edge that could cut through any resistance. "Diane, you owe her," she said matter-of-factly. "Lily let you stay with her after your divorce. It's your duty to be her surrogate." My dad, a quiet but firm man in his 62s, just nodded beside her. He didn't even look at me directly, like a judge who had already made up his mind. I felt my chest tighten. It wasn't just the demand, it was the assumption that my body, my life, and my future were all up for grabs, that I had no right to say no. Lily sat across from me, her hands folded neatly, her eyes full of expectation. There was no hesitation in her expression. She didn't ask me, she just waited for me to agree. Then, she slid a folder across the table. The soft scraping sound of the paper against the polished wood echoed in my head like thunder. I stared at the folder, not opening it. Opening it would mean admitting that this was real, that they had planned all this without even consulting me. My mom gave me a small, encouraging smile, the kind she used when she thought she was being reasonable. "We've made it easy for you, Diane. All you have to do is sign," she said, as if it were that simple. Finally, I opened the folder. Pages full of legal jargon, terms, obligations, medical clauses, and timelines stared back at me. This wasn't a suggestion, it was a binding agreement, carefully planned and detailed. They expected me to comply. As I flipped through the pages, my hands grew cold, and my heart pounded louder with every line. There was no room for my feelings, my fears, or my future. It was all about what I would give, what I would endure, and what I would surrender. My dad tried a softer approach. "You'd be helping your family, Diane. That's what matters." "Helping, duty, owing," he said. They kept using these noble-sounding words, but it just felt like pressure closing in on me from all sides. Lily finally spoke. Her voice was gentle but firm. "I wouldn't ask if I had another option, Diane. You're the only one who can do this for me." It was a declaration, not a request. I was the solution to her problem, and everyone in the room had already decided. For a moment, I said nothing. I just sat there, letting the weight of it all sink in. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. I could hear my own shallow breathing as I looked at the contract again. Every line was like a chain, every clause a lock. They had built a cage of expectations, waiting for me to step in willingly. But something inside me resisted. Maybe it was the memory of all I'd lost after my divorce, the hard-fought battle to rebuild myself. Or maybe it was just the simple truth that this wasn't right. Then, I saw it. A single clause buried near the end of page 4. It was written in the same formal tone as the rest, easy to miss if you weren't paying close attention. But I was. Every word mattered now. As I read it, a sense of clarity washed over me. I didn't react right away. I closed the folder slowly, my fingers steady. The room was still watching me, waiting. My mom's smile had become tighter, my dad's patience thinner. Lily leaned forward slightly, her eyes full of anticipation. They thought they knew how this would end. They thought I would give in. But I wasn't the same Diane who had once needed a place to stay and accepted whatever was offered just to survive. I had changed. Holding that contract, I realized this was my moment. I looked around the table one more time, taking in every face, every expectation, every assumption they had placed on me. For the first time since the conversation started, I felt calm. I knew something they didn't, and things weren't going to go their way. I let the silence stretch, making them uncomfortable, making them wonder if I was about to agree. Then, I opened the folder again, slowly and deliberately, flipping to the page that had changed everything. I circled the clause and handed the contract back. My voice was calm, too calm for what they expected. My mom leaned forward, her smile returning as if this was the moment I'd finally say yes. My dad exhaled, relieved too soon. Lily's eyes lit up with what she thought was victory. But then, their faces turned white. I tapped the page with my finger. "Did you actually read this?" I asked. Lily frowned slightly. "Of course I did. It's standard," she replied. "No," I said, shaking my head and sliding the contract closer to her. "It's not." She looked down, following the circle I'd drawn. My mom leaned in beside her, and my dad adjusted his glasses. All three of them scanned the paragraph. I watched their expressions change. Confidence slipped, confusion crept in, and then fear. "It says here," I continued, my voice steady, "that in the event of medical complications, the surrogate agrees to follow all decisions made by the intended parents regarding treatment, regardless of personal risk." My mom blinked. "That's just legal wording," she said. "No," I cut in sharply. "It means if something goes wrong, if it's my life or the baby's, I don't get to choose." The silence that followed was suffocating. Lily looked back at the page, reading it slower this time. "That's not what it means," she said, but her voice lacked certainty. "It is exactly what it means," I replied. "And it doesn't stop there." I flipped another page and pointed to a second section. "This part says I'm responsible for maintaining optimal health conditions as defined by you. That includes diet, travel restrictions, even where I live. Do you realize what that means? You'd control my entire life for 9 months. That's normal for surrogacy," my dad said, but he didn't sound convinced. "Not like this," I said quietly. "Not without safeguards, not without my rights being protected." My mom straightened up, her expression tightening. "You're overreacting. This is your family. We wouldn't let anything happen to you." I let out a humorless laugh. "You already did," I said. "The moment you decided this for me without asking, that hit me harder than anything." Lily closed the folder, her hands trembling slightly. "We just thought you'd understand," she said. "I do understand," I replied. "I understand that you're desperate. I understand that you want a child, but that doesn't give you the right to take control of my body and my future." My dad rubbed his temple, clearly frustrated. "So, what are you saying? You're just going to refuse? After everything Lily's done for you?" "Oh," I met his gaze directly. "Letting me stay with her after my divorce wasn't a transaction. It was family, or at least I thought it was." No one spoke because they had no answer. I stood up slowly, the chair scraping softly against the floor. For a second, no one moved. They were all trying to process how quickly things had slipped out of their control. "I'm not signing this," I said. "Not this contract, not under these conditions, and not because you think I owe you." My mom's face hardened. "If you walk away from this, don't expect things to stay the same." I nodded. "They already aren't." I picked up my coat, my hands steady now. There was no hesitation, no doubt, just clarity. As I turned toward the door, Lily's voice stopped me. "Diane, please." I paused but didn't turn around. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "I didn't realize." I closed my eyes for a brief moment. For the first time that night, she sounded human again, not entitled, not certain, just scared. "I hope you find another way," I said quietly, "but it won't be through me." And then I walked out into the cold, leaving behind the expectations and pressure, and finally taking control of my own life.